Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 6th meeting of the Stockbridge Assessors. I need to read this preamble. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law C-30A 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may record or transmit this open meeting. This hybrid meeting is being recorded by the town of Stockbridge. The names of members participating remotely, and in this case, it'll be Doug Goody for us, will be announced. Any member of the public wishing to speak must first receive permission from the chair. The agenda items listed are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, but not all may be discussed, and other topics not listed may be brought up for discussion by the public body as permitted by law. With that said, I will turn the meeting over to Mike.
Good morning. Okay, so number one, the board has to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Move to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, Gary.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Brandy.
Okay,
Passes.
I'm sorry.
No.
Number two, Tammy got ready the monthly review for the motor vehicle abatement applications
All right.
for you guys to sign.
Michael, I'll stop up and sign those either today or tomorrow.
Okay, all right, because I also, number three, Doug, I have to have the full board sign the permission letter for me to sign on Gateway on your behalf. We do this every year because we're getting close to the tax rate, setting the tax rate. So I'll have Brandy and Gary sign it and you can sign that when you come in.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, yep. Number four, like I just mentioned, we are now in the phase of getting the tax rate set for fiscal year 26. And in order to do that, I'll segue to the other two that are coming, but let me just explain. We're working on the recap and the supporting documents. Our new growth was certified by Joe Barberi. Our LA4, which is the form that shows the breakdown by class of all of the properties, was also certified by the DOR. Once those two are certified, you move on to setting your classification hearing. And in the time leading up to the classification hearing, we're now working on getting the fiscal year tax rate, all the documents ready, submitted on the online gateway system to the DOR. And we're working with our accounting group, Aponte, and with Mike Canales and Erica Olson on getting the forms that we need in. Everything is actually in Gateway, and we will be submitting the day after the classification hearing. I am now getting ready all the supporting documents that need to be attached to the recap sheet. So we're pretty good. We're probably about 90% there as far as all the documents that we need. I met with Erica, Mike, and Aponte on last Friday to go over the rest of the documents that are going to be needed for submission. And they're on top of it. There's just a few little things. We still don't have our free cash certified, but that might be coming this week. We may have it before the classification hearing.
And you don't need it for the.
I don't need it, no, but
They don't.
if we don't find out before or the day of the classification or the day after, we've already informed Aponte that they're going to have to sign the in lieu of balance sheet. It's a requirement when you're submitting if your free cash isn't certified. So they're well aware that they're going to have to do that. So I think everything is lined up. What we do need to review is the overlay because that affects the tax rate, and it also affects the all the paperwork that I get ready for the classification hearing. And I want to be as close as I possibly can of what the tax rate is going to be when I present at the classification hearing. So last year, for the overlay for fiscal year 26, we ended up using around 38,000. The thing is, we now, because I reviewed this with Erica and with Aponte, and we're right down to the penny. We have $178,000 sitting in the overlay account. And so we really only need to put the bare minimum in there. I know last year, I think you guys might have been a little hesitant to go with the amount that we went with, but we only used 11,000 out of that for fiscal year 25. And again, overlay is now one account. So we now go back to fiscal year 17 that we've got money in all the way up to fiscal year 25. And we haven't done any turnovers for the overlay. We really can't right at this moment until, basically the classification hearing and the tax rate is set. So what I'm proposing and what I've just tentatively typed into the recap, and again, until you approve, I won't put that amount, is 20,000. That may flow up to 22 or down to 18, depending on the rounding of, there's a button on the recap called recap adjustment. So if your tax rate is causing a penny difference, it will use the overlay amount to adjust it. So right now I plugged in 20 and it brought it down to 18, but that would still bring us close to $200,000. So my proposal is we use $20,000 for fiscal year 26 and look into doing a turnover after you do your abatements for fiscal 26. Once everything is settled, and Erica has told us that she doesn't, because all the uncollectibles also come out, the exemptions and uncollectibles come out of that amount as well. So we want to make sure that we've settled every single account, including any ATB cases. Remember, Camp Mackinac usually files for the income approach. That comes up. So if we go into the fiscal year 26 with roughly 200,000, that's plenty, because we always used to say, let's keep at least 100 in there. But again, it's been years since the board has done a release on those. So we may want to consider, see how much was actually used for fiscal year 26, and then go into the spring of next year before the town meeting with possibly a release of some of those funds and get it down to a more realistic number. Because what we're doing now, we are just adding it. We're padding to a number that really is just one big whole number that covers any abatements, exemptions, or uncollectibles that you give now. They don't really relate to a specific year. Even though you may be voting on a fiscal 26 abatement or exemption, it's really coming out of a pool of money that is accumulated over several fiscal years. So again, my recommendation would be keep 20,000 for on the recap for fiscal year 26 and consider a possible release of some funds into the general fund next year.
So Michael, do we have any idea what the collectibles that the collector's office has? I mean, do we know what their number is?
She doesn't have anything that's pending that she's given to me except for the uncollectible personal property that you signed last month. And even though on the gateway, if you look at the 001, you do have to put in your total receivables. And there is this informational, it doesn't hold up the tax rate, but there's an informational item that comes up that basically says, even with 170,000, that you don't have enough in your overlay. And the reason for that is it takes the total amount that at this point, I mean, she's in the process of collecting. There's no way we're ever going to have $200,000 worth of uncollectibles in one fiscal year. She does payment plans, and the last I remember, she was at 98% of her collection rate. So I think, we typically ignore that because it may be a couple $1,000s that we end up writing off, for mostly personal property accounts that go out of business and we can't find anymore. But I know Erica does her darndest to collect every single penny that is out there each fiscal year. We've never had an overlay deficit where we didn't raise enough money, and everything changed when the state, through the Modernization Act, allowed us to now have one giant overlay account like Doug, if you came in and said, what do we have left in fiscal year 25? I can tell you that number. I could tell you the number for any fiscal year, what we have in there. When we did our last reval, we really upped that amount, which typically is what you do when you have a big change in values. And we really did not turn any of that money over. So there's still, like I said, quite a bit. But if you want to, if for any reason you want to see the breakdown, I have a PDF of all the years that I work with Aponte that I can send you if you want to see it. But again, it's like if you were to put 0 in for this year and we had, let's say 50,000 in abatements and exemptions, it's not really going to come out of this year. It's going to come out of the whole pool.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that her abatements were 150,000, or not her abatements, but her collectibles we're
Yes.
$150,000 and
No, absolutely. And again, that's the state. What's so weird about how they changed this is
Thank you.
this was used, Mike and Alice and I have had this conversation, like this was used as a tool to allow communities that have just been banking overlay and overlay and overlay to basically say, to keep the tax rate low, we don't need to raise,
Right.
any more overlay. So you don't lower the tax rate by releasing overlay, you lower the tax rate by not accumulating it every single year. So to just be fiscally responsible and look at what can we do to lower the tax rate as far as we possibly can when we have a good pool of money for abatements and exemptions, I think is a great thing to do.
great. So I make a motion that we go forward with Mike's suggestion of adding 20,000 to the abatement, subject to the rounding calculation.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, Gary.
Hi, Brandy.
Doug.
Okay, great. Now,
That's
sorry, I keep interrupting you. I got so much on my brain today. Number 6. So every year, soon as the new growth and the LA4 is approved by the Bureau of Local Assessment, we now start dealing with the Divisional Local Services who will certify our tax rate. And in order to get there, we have to have a public hearing, which is a tax classification hearing with the Board of Selectmen, Select Board, and the public to decide, well, they basically make the decision as to whether the town is going to keep a split tax rate, a single tax rate, and then there are 3 options, 2 of which pertain to Stockbridge. The 3 options are a vote in a residential tax exemption, an open space discount, or a small commercial exemption. We deal with the first and the last, which is the RTE, the residential tax exemption, and the small commercial exemption. The open space discount, we moved all of our open space land that had a use code of 2 into our residential many years ago. So we don't deal with the open space discount. So what we started to do probably since the last reval that we did was for the board to make an actual recorded recommendation to the select board. And what I would do is send a memo after your decision to them so they see how the board, who knows the ramifications of what these specific things can do, to at least give them guidance or at least know this is how we feel about these specific categories. Again, only the select board members can vote on this and they can decide whether the public will have input on this or not. We're not running a classification hearing now. We're just gonna do so we can our your recommendations to it. So the first thing would be and how I present, and I will have a packet ready for the select board members at the end of the week, and it will be posted online for the public to view. I'm hoping to get that done for the weekend. So what the memo to the board entailed was your recommendation for a split tax rate or a single tax rate. And the way that you get to a single tax rate is to adopt a residential factor of 1. What the select board has the choice of doing is going beyond one and shifting up to a maximum of 150% towards the commercial class. And I always say that the commercial class is so small, and so isn't the personal, it's commercial, industrial, and personal property. It's basically 11% of the total tax levy. So we're not the type of community that would benefit from doing a shift in the tax rate. Historically, we've always had a single tax rate. So my recommendation to the Board of Assessors is to recommend a single tax rate, keeping a residential factor of 1.
I would say that we should adopt Mike's decision or recommendation, and that we should vote to keep a single tax rate, and we'll have to vote on that. So if I could get a second on that.
Second.
All those,
I just wanted to say too that, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of our, what we might consider commercial are really nonprofits. So they don't really necessarily contribute to the tax base anyway. So again, we have to, you know, so this excludes any of our nonprofits, which account for
Right.
a lot of our larger, almost commercial buildings.
exactly. Yep. So I would entertain well, we have the motion, so we just need to vote. So I, Gary,
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Doug.
so that passes.
Okay, so the second part would be either a recommendation or no recommendation for, or no vote. Well, you still have to vote, but a yes or a no on the residential tax exemption and the small commercial exemption. So the residential tax exemption, and I'll, again, don't want to run a classification hearing now, but the idea of a residential tax exemption is allowing an exemption to every eligible parcel, which would, eligible meaning you have to be domiciled in Stockbridge, you cannot be a second homeowner, and you cannot also own a rental property because those are exempt from the residential exemption. There is an application process involved of which we have not put in place until we would know that this was certain to pass. Huge process. There's only, I think there's less than 30 communities that have the residential exemption. It is not adding to your tax levy. It's not creating any additional spendable dollars. It basically is a shift in, for example, our tax levy will be around $10 million, and we're still going to, with or without the residential tax exemption or small commercial exemption, we still need to raise that amount through taxation and through the available funds that we have. What it would do is shift the burden to the second homeowners and the renters. And in order to allow that designated amount, which is decided by the select board, again, up to 35% of the average residential value, not the average home value, the total of the residential class. We, in the past, have always recommended a no vote on the residential tax exemption. It is a very polarized topic, and I'm sure it will be this year as well. But there are no surrounding communities or any communities out really in the middle or in this, you know, end of the state that has voted in because of how the ramifications of having, you know, 700 second homeowners in town that will now be bearing the brunt of every single exemption that is given to a eligible parcel. That's it in a nutshell. There is a possibility that if the town of Stockbridge is designated as a seasonal community, that 35% will go up to a 50% reduction, causing an even higher amount that could be that could come off of every eligible parcel. And even though we can implement something like this at the moment, we don't have easily have the resources to implement it. It is a monumental task, which possibly could involve additional employees to monitor this, because there's an abatement application process that is involved in determining who is eligible and who isn't. And anyone that's ever looked at our tax base and seen the number of trusts and LLCs that we have in town would realize that it is not an easy task. So my recommendation to the Board of Assessors is to not recommend that the select board enact the residential tax exemption.
Mike, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you just give us an indication of what the tax rate might do this year without going into detail? Is it going down?
Yes, it's going down.
All right.
Yes.
I guess
Yep.
because my point is I
It
think
will be in the $6 range.
well, that's fantastic. I mean, I think
Yep.
this type of changes might be a solution to a future problem when rates and taxes are going up, but currently the tax rate is going down. The effective rate of people are paying is pretty stable. And I don't really think this type of change is needed at this time. And I would be leaning to vote no, that we don't need to do it at this time.
I agree.
I agree as well. So I would entertain a motion to keep the single, what am I asking? What are we couching it says?
Not
Recommendation to the select board to not
enact.
the residential.
Yeah,
tax
so,
exemption.
yeah,
and the
so,
small commercial exemption.
Do you want to do both, the small commercial and
Yes.
that together? All right, so let me just talk briefly about the small commercial exemption. Small commercial exemption would allow up to a 10% decrease in eligible commercial properties. Our base in Stockbridge, as I mentioned, when I was talking about the tax rate, is 11% commercial, industrial, and personal property. That's such a small amount. And what's so strange about the small commercial exemption is if enacted, it only gives an exemption to the it doesn't go to the tenant. It goes to the owner of the property to do whatever they wish to do. And we have to figure out how many eligible parcels there are each year. And how we do this is we're given a report by the Department of Labor, and it basically is a listing of all the properties that have 10 or less employees, because the only parcels that would qualify for this is a fully leased and rented unit, a commercial unit. It could be a mixed use unit, but it has to be commercial. And they have to have less than 10 employees with a valuation of less than $1 million. So with all those factors in place, there are only 6 properties this year that I determined that would qualify for that exemption. And it would amount to basically an $80,000 valuation deduction. And again, that's on properties that are close to $1 million. So the benefit in Stockbridge of a small commercial exemption is so small that I've never really seen the need for something like this. We're not a Pittsfield or even a North Adams or Springfield where something like this could benefit the commercial properties where the buildings might need a lot of work or they have truly small businesses in them with less than 10 employees. But for a town like Stockbridge, it really isn't feasible. So I would recommend, that the Board of Assessors also recommend a no on that for the select board.
Yeah, so I think Michael, I think it's important to say that it only affects, like you say it again, it only affects 6 of our taxpayers, and
Yeah, we have less than altogether on our personal property for commercial. We have less than, between the 3 classes, 100 properties, and most of them are mixed use, so they have a residential side. And when you're calculating something like this, the state tells you that you have to exempt the residential part of that value. So there's actually some properties that could be eligible, but the commercial part of the building brings their assessment over $1 million, and that automatically exempts them from getting a small commercial exemption. The select board a few years ago, kind of out of the blue, because I didn't see it coming, did enact a small commercial exemption. And we were quite shocked and surprised because when we were finally ready to implement this in our system, by time we looked at every property that was leased, it was 3 properties that qualified for it. So last year they did not vote it through again. It's just so, again, it might work for the bigger communities. With 11% of our 3 commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. We just don't have enough in the levy to make something like this work.
And so, Michael, you said we're taking away approximately $80,000 worth of assessment off of these specific properties.
Right, yeah.
Which
And
is-
that's last year's value. That might change a little this year.
Yeah, but still, we're talking about even at I did a $6 rate, a $7 rate is going to be. We're maybe shifting $500 worth of tax
Right.
to the rest of the community. It's really not substantial, and the cost to calculate and to make all these changes far, outweigh the benefit to those 6 properties. I think it should be a no.
So you
Anybody want to make a motion then? On the 2?
I'll make a motion to recommend the select board not enact the residential tax exemption and the small commercial exemption.
Second, Doug.
All those in favor? Gary? Aye.
Brandy, aye.
Aye,
And
Doug.
Doug already voted.
Okay.
All right.
And number 7, the chapter land forms for renewal are in the mail, and we have been getting them back. So as a reminder to the public, December 1st, on or before December 1st is the deadline for the chapter 61As and 61B forest management. Well, you can actually be under forest management under the 61A. So there are a few that are like that, but it really is for the agricultural, horticultural, and the recreational lands. That deadline moved from October 1st to December 1st, so you have more time. And if you haven't received that form, please contact the assessor's office and we will send one to you. That includes any new applicants as well that feel they might have land that they want to have the Board of Assessors look at for chapter land designation.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The recreational use, does that still require public access or has that changed?
No, it does. I don't know if it's ever changed. You don't have to have public access.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, you have to state that on your application though.
yep, okay.
I did check that with Donna, our legal, on that. And, because I was always under the assumption that if you want to put it under recreational, it's got to be open to everybody.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And number 8, we did get notification of and I should have known this, but I haven't gone to the last meeting. Here it is, the Berkshire County Assessors Association annual fall meeting is Thursday, October 30th at the Granite Country Club. Tammy can't go, but I'll be going if anyone else wants to go.
What's on the agenda?
So, we're going to have our new rep for setting the tax rate, who I've yet to talk to. That'll be happening in a few weeks. Nick Contella and Jared Curtis, Bureau of Accounts, meet and greet, covering the tax rate forms, where the info comes from, who is responsible for each form, and what we are looking for when we look at a particular form. And then we're going to have KP Law, Tom McEnemy, and Jeff Blake, who are going to review 3 ABC forms regarding legal issues surrounding 3 ABC submission with a Q&A session afterward. There's going to be breakfast and lunch. And I have to notify Tammy Blackwell by the 22nd who's going to go.
Okay.
And actually, I'd like to know well ahead of time because there might be some delay in cutting that check and getting it to them. Sounds like, I think,
I'll-
a good meeting.
I'll go to that one.
Okay. And let me see if there are any.
Can you scan that in and send me a copy so I've got it, the time and,
I can. Now, do you want to have any discussion about anything? There are 2 other people.
Oh, who's on it?
I can't tell by,
Oh,
it's a phone number and
is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment or ask a question? Guess
I
not.
guess not.
Okay. Anything from the board?
I'm good.
Hey, somebody just unmuted. Oh, and what? Okay. What? Okay. Forget it. Sandra might have.
Sorry
Sandra's
about
unmuted.
that. That was just my unmuting to say thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye, Gary.
aye, Brandy.
Hi, Doug. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye,
See ya.
Doug.
Bye-bye.